Sorry, guys, we are 23 minutes late. We ran into some technical difficulties here. So we're trying how to fix that out. Something with LinkedIn wasn't able to stream. So hopefully we resolve that now. Let me see here if we have that resolved. No, it seems, wait, is it going now? Yeah, there we go. So we don't have a actual topic for today picked out. So what we're going to do is take a deep dive into DeepSeek AI, um, and kind of go from there, right? Let's look at the news, the architecture, the knowledge, and see what we can. What does it mean? What does DeepSeek mean? It definitely hurt the tech industry from an economic perspective, with um, Nvidia losing 400 billion dollars in a day. So it's something important. We should take a look into it. What is DeepSeek? Where does it come from? Where did it come from? Where is it going? Um, and how does it play into this AI arms race, right? Um, essentially, that AI race. And so that's what today is going to be about. So let's dive in. Let's dive a little bit deeper. So we just did that, just doing a little quality check, making sure everything is in order here, with all the streams. Since we were having issues earlier, I just want to make sure that we're working on that. So let's get that going. Sorry, guys, we got so many channels, and Laura's busy today, so we got to figure this out on our own. Perfect. I think we are okay. All right. So let me go ahead and share my screen. Boom. And actually, let me stop sharing here. Let me see if I can. Let's just do it the old-fashioned way. Share the screen. Y'all know what I look like. All right, so let me bring up a browser. All right, so let's look up some DeepSeek information. So let's go straight to the source. DeepSeek into the unknown. So DeepSeek R1 is now live, and it's open source, rivaling OpenAI's Model O1. Available on web, app, and API. Click for details. Well, we'll come back to that. Start now, free access to DeepSeek V3, but we want R1. That's the one that's causing all this noise in the AI space right now. There's an app, DeepSeek V3 capabilities, achieved a significant breakthrough in inference speed. Okay. over previous models. So that's the V3 achieves. So the version 3 has a great breakthrough in inference speed compared to its previous models. And so let's see what it looks like compared to other open source models. So let's see architecture. We got dense. We got the metrics. So llama is 500 billion parameters, 72. So this one doesn't really tell us how many parameters. Oh, there it is. So activated parameters is 37, total parameters 671. Okay, that's a lot. Okay. So llama on let's look into what this means, right? So this is all English. MMLU. So massive multitask language understanding. Let's read the Wikipedia on this. So it consists about 60,000 multiple choice questions spanning 57 academic subjects, including mathematics, philosophy, law, medicine. Okay, so who's Dan Hendricks? Is an American machine learning researcher. Okay, he serves as the director of Center of AI Safety. Okay, there's a nonprofit in San Francisco. Okay, so he leads a team. All right, so he started that team in 2020. In 2020. Okay, so MMLU is a benchmark, and so it's a measurement. So so DeepSeek V3, they don't have R1 here, which is frustrating because R1 is the one we care about. Um, what's the difference between R1 and V3? It's good to know. Llama 3 is still better than V3. So that's good. So they don't have any information out here about the comparing the latest models, which is a problem. Let me make this bigger for you guys. I apologize. I forget. You guys need to see this. So these are all benchmarks. Does good on the drop. 3-shot F1. For coding. Okay, for coding, it looks like it's doing a good job compared to the other models, depending on the benchmark. Math as well. Did really good on this benchmark. I wonder what this benchmark does. Can we get some good sources? So I'm guessing it's a course. Let's do benchmark. You know, I wish someone's going to have to do some easier consolidation of all of these benchmarks so that we know this has to be translated to something that we can understand for sure. So um, that's an opportunity for us to be, you know, if something doesn't exist, make it, right? So hopefully we can apply some resources to that, to understanding all these benchmarks and really making it easier for us to understand as the users who are reading this, right? So because it's easy to just come in here and just say, oh, these numbers are great compared to what? Compared to what? Okay. What do they got over here? What is this? Oh, is that a Mastodon? Oh no, Git, open source. So let's go to their GitHub. Repositories, R1. Zoom in. We introduced our first generation. We introduced first generation reasoning models. Okay, so R1 is their first reasoning model. So it's using reinforcement learning without any supervised fine tuning. Okay, so that's a preliminary step. With reasoning learning, DeepSeek R1 naturally emerged with numerous powerful and interesting reasoning behaviors. However, R10 encounters challenges such as endless repetition, poor readability, and language mixing. Oh, yeah, that's true. So there's been a lot of news out there about how it'll go from English to Chinese and and return a different language. So that's very important. So it looks like it's getting to its reasoning, and it's just like Spanglish, right? Like it just goes from one language to another, and so that's probably. I would still like to understand whether that's um, whether it's still coherent, right? You know, as someone who speaks English, Spanish, and a little bit of French, then um, there's some reasonings that I have in Spanish that just don't translate the same in English or vice versa. So I would really like to understand how it mixes up languages, because if it's still coherent, if it's still doing an expression of thought um, correctly, but just using that other language, like that's a whole different other problem. Um, but I want to see if it's language mixing, but it still makes sense if you understand both the languages, or if it's completely hallucinating that other language. Similar to Spanglish, right? We interchange from English to Spanish and Spanish to English as normal, just like that, right? Just going from one to the other, and it's still understanding. You can, if you speak Spanish, or if you understand the context clues of what's being discussed, then it's still a right expression of thought. So I want to play with that and see when I encounter that language mixing, and see if it's still a coherent thought, if it's still replying the right output. So to address these issues and further enhance reasoning performance, we introduced DeepSeek R1. Oh, so we're talking, this was R10. R10 didn't had that issue. R1 doesn't have much of that issue, which incorporates cold start data before reasoning, reinforcement learning. Okay. DeepSeek R1 achieves performance comparable to O1 across math, code, and reasoning tasks. The research community, we have open source. Okay. So they've open sourced R10, R1, and 6 dense models distilled from DeepSeek R1 based on Llama and Qwen. So, okay. So DeepSeek is a variation of these already open source models with Llama and Qwen. Okay. DeepSeek R1 distill Qwen R32 billion outperforms OpenAI's O1 many across various benchmarks, achieving new state-of-the-art results for dense models. This is kind of the importance of having open source models, right? Because it's open source, anybody with the know-how and the capability and the resources, they can see the architecture and point at the problem and fix it or make it better. So that's the beauty of open source and kind of why everybody wants to use open source, because it's that competitive nature, keeping it competitive, keeping things competitive. All right, so some benchmarks that nobody understands again, or at least that I don't understand. At least I think the majority of people don't know what these benchmarks are. I know what the MMLU is now. Before running DeepSeek R1 series models locally, we kindly recommend reviewing recommendation sections. Okay. Model summary, post-training large-scale reinforcement learning on base models. We directly apply reinforcement learning on the base model without relying on supervised. Okay. We introduce our pipeline to develop DeepSeek R1. The pipeline incorporates 2 reinforcement learning stages aimed at discovering improved reasoning patterns and aligning with human preference, as well as to, I forgot what that meant. What does that mean? SFT, supervised fine tuning. Yes. Supervised fine tuning stages that serve as the seed for the model's reasoning and non reasoning capabilities. They believe that the pipeline will benefit the industry by creating better models. Okay. Distillation. Smaller models can be powerful too. We demonstrate that the reasoning patterns of larger models can be distilled into small. Yeah, that's very true, resulting in better performance compared to the reasoning patterns discovered through reinforcement learnings on small models. Okay, yeah. So they use this. They use the bigger models, and then they kind of just subset them, right? Categorize them, subset the data trained that's it's been trained on, and they do use reinforcement learning on those areas. So now you have categorized learning and reinforced learning by essentially those categories, which if you if you cut it right, if you cut the large models by those subsections of reinforced learnings, then you have a pretty good small model on that particular subject area. So that's important. The open source DeepSeek R1 as well as its API will benefit the research. Okay. Using recent data generated by we fine-tune several dense models that are widely used in the research community. The evaluation results demonstrate that the distilled smaller dense models perform exceptionally well on benchmarks. Okay, so these are the models distilled checkpoints. Okay, and these are all based off the Quen 2.5 and Llama 3 series. So so DeepSeek is really a hybrid of these models, or a regurgitation of these models, and then obviously they fine tuned it and created other parameters and created. It's all about the algorithm. How does it pull the information? When does it pull the information? Okay, so you can download the models here. I'm going to use the online version. I don't want you guys to sit through how to figure this out from a Docker container. Let's see here. What else? Evaluation results. Again, good to see the numbers, but until we understand, I'm skeptical. I'm a paranoid, skeptical person. So until we know what this means, it's great. I know that this is a benchmark from Dan in San Francisco, California, but what are they testing for? And how is it being tested? And why is their test important um, to this? So that's probably a really good future session when it comes to these language models. And actually, it'll be really good to start creating a repository of this data, of the information we research and collect on that data, on the information, yeah, on those benchmarks. Essentially, benchmark name. What is the benchmark? Why is it important? What do they test against? You can chat with R1 on the DeepSeek's official website by going to chat.deepseek.com and switch on the button DeepThink. We can see the V3 repo for, okay, so R1 is a version of V3 with that logic reasoning um, framework attached to it. Okay. So Hugging Faces Transformers has not been directly supported yet. Understood. Okay, so you can use VLLM. What is VLLM? Let's take a look. Got it. So it's like a library just to quickly use language models and interface with them. And it was developed at the UC Berkeley. What does it look like? Do I have an example of what it looks like? It's probably a CLI. Let's see if we can get a picture. Or what if we let's look at the documentation. Installation. Quick starts. They got pictures. I want to see pictures. Yeah, so this is all code stuff. So we would have to compile. Let's do some offline inference. Okay, so it's all coding. There's no UI. Let's see. Or at least not a UI that I can see is here. Either way, there's other. Yeah, we can use other frameworks as well. Okay, so that's all a coding library. Very technical. Let me get out of there. Back to here. All right, so let's get to it. So now we know where it comes from. We know where it's been trained on. We know. So DeepSeek is just a variation of Qwen 2.5 and Llama 3. It looks like it's been provided with some a reasoning framework on top of that, and they've created a better machine learning algorithm on its approach. So let's start. Let me log in here. I don't know which account to use. All right, doesn't matter. Let's use that. All right, let's turn that on. Can we turn? Ooh, we can use search and deep thinking at the same time. Well, let's do something simple. Very similar UI design here. Let me make this bigger. Very similar UI design. We have DeepSeek, we have the sidebar, new chat. We can get, there's an app version there. You have the profile. You can add attachments. So it's only for text extraction only. So use some form of OCR. And so let's ask a question. Who was the first? Actually, I want to see what it'll say. If I say who was the first president, what's going to tell me? It went automatically to the United States. Really fast response. Really fast response. I really like that. That was natural. Let's ask it. I made an assumption based on the context of the question. Okay. Okay. So based on okay, which doesn't specify. Yeah. Good. All right. I like that. Let me make this a little bit bigger. I think we can all read that. Okay. Let's put some deep think into this. How to connect, how to create a website thinking. First, they need a GoDaddy account. I should mention signing up or logging in. Then choosing between building a site themselves with a builder like Websites Plus Marketing or hiring a professional, since most people looking to create their own site would use the builder. I'll focus on that. Next, selecting a domain. They might already have one or need to register one. I should explain both options, then picking a template. It's important to highlight that they should choose a template relevant to their business or purpose. After that, customizing the site. Details like editing text, images, colors, and adding pages are essential. Mentioning features like SEO tools, mobile optimization, and e-commerce if they need a store. E-commerce if they need a store. Don't forget to remind them to preview before publishing. Publishing the site is a final step. Also, maybe adding tips about connecting social media and analytics. Wait, the user might not know about ongoing maintenance, so including updating content and renewing the domain/hosting is good. Okay. It literally told itself, wait. Wait. The user, okay, that's awesome. It's logic, it's reasoning. I should structure it step by step, keep it clear without too much jargon, check if there are common pitfalls like not previewing on mobile, maybe offer additional help if they need more advanced options. Let me make sure each step is concise and actionable. And he thought about that in 9 seconds. He, they, it. Creating a website on GoDaddy is straightforward, especially with useful websites. Okay, tool. Here's a step-by-step guide. Sign up on GoDaddy. Visit GoDaddy. Does it do? Yep, it's hyperlinking. You can see it down here. So it's going to take me to GoDaddy if I click on that link, create an account, or log in if you already have one. Choose your website option. Go to the website section, or use the build your own website prompt. Select start for free. Okay, hire a pro. If you want GoDaddy experts to build it for you, a paid service, pick a domain, search for availability and purchase it. Didn't tell us how to, right? If it's assuming that we're beginners, or maybe it's part of the process. Maybe it knows it's part of the process with GoDaddy, but either way, um, I think it's assuming here the logic here. Select the template, customize your website, set up an e-commerce, publish your website. So it's assuming that all of this is right. Let's just assume it's all correct. But I did like the reasoning. The builder plans start at $10 a month. The domain registrations are from $3 to $20 a year, depending on the domain extension. Need more help? GoDaddy offers site. Okay. Let's look into. Let's add some search. Let's add some search capabilities here. I want to get a list of all of the top steak restaurants in Houston. Please provide sources and why they are the best. $29 results. All right, so top for 23 seconds. Okay, let's tackle this user request for the top steak restaurant in Houston with sources and reasons. First, I need to go through each of the provided web pages to extract relevant information. The user wants a list, so I should prioritize the search result that specifically mentions steakhouses in Houston. Starting with page one, web page one. It lists several steakhouses but doesn't provide detailed reasons or rankings. However, names like B&B Butchers and Del Frisco's are mentioned. Web page 2 seems to be about radius searches but doesn't have actual restaurant info. 3 is detailed list of 17 steakhouses with addresses, description, and recommended cuts. This looks very useful. Each entry has a why this steakhouse restaurant is a must-eat section, which is perfect for explaining why they're the best. Wow. Wow, that's really good. Web page 4 is a general list of Houston restaurants, but doesn't focus on steakhouses. Web page 5 from Eater Houston mentions 17 steakhouses, including some unique ones like Andaran and Karn Korean Steakhouse. 6, Houstonia Magazine highlights unique steakhouses like Brenner's on the Bayou, etc., with more detailed descriptions. 7 talks about various Houston restaurants, but only a few are steakhouses like Truth Barbecue and Joshi, which might not be relevant here. Okay, now I need to cross-reference these sources. Web page 3 and 5 both list multiple steakhouses, but web page 3 has 17 entries with detailed reasons, while web page 5 and 6 add more unique spots. The challenge is to compile a list that combines all of these sources without repetition. For example, okay, but B&B Butchers is mentioned in 3, 5, and 6, so I should consolidate the info. Similarly, Georgia James appears in 3 and 6. I need to check each restaurant's mentions across the web page to gather all the reasons why they are recommended. For example, Tris in web page 3 is highlighted for its Wagyu and Black Angus steaks, while web page 6, Anderon, is noted for smoked beef ribs. Each entry should include sources and unique selling points. Also, dates on the web pages are important. Since today is, okay, very good reasoning here. The most recent articles, web page 4 and 5 from 25 and 24, should take precedence for up-to-date info. Again, it's reiterating kind of the same reasoning here. Some restaurants might be in multiple lists, so combining their features would provide a comprehensive view. For example, Guard and Grace in Web 3 is noted for its design and steak quality, while 6 adds details about the chef and specific dishes. Oh, now it's consolidating information from multiple web pages. Awesome. I should structure the answer by listing each restaurant with bullet points mentioning why they're the best based on sources. Citations should be included after each reason, referencing the relevant web page. The user also wants sources, including the URLs from the web page is necessary, but since the user asked to cite using, I didn't do that, but okay. I'll reference the web page numbers instead. Making sure the list is comprehensive but not too long. The user might prefer a top 10, so I'll prioritize that. Let me check how many are in each list. So 3 has 17, 5, 17, 6, several, doesn't provide the number. To keep it concise, maybe list the top 10, but since user didn't specify a number, I can include more if they are all relevant. However, the user example in the previous answer listed 17, but the assistant provided 10. Maybe limit to 10 key points as per the instructions, but the user's example answer here has 10 entries. Okay, here's the answer. Let's make this small. It's a very detailed reason. Here's a curated list. Tris, why it's great, specializes in Wagyu and Black Angus steak with highlights like the Heart brand, Reserve Red, Akaushi. What is that? Offers creative sides like poached crab and lobster risotto. Source, #1 for exquisite meats and innovative things. It's from 20. Okay. B&B Butchers and Restaurant combines a butcher shop and steakhouse, dry aging prime meats like the 55-day prime rib. Okay. Brenner's on the Bayou. For more details, explore these guides. Meat quality, ambience, and innovation. Honorable mentions. That's okay. How does this compare? Oh, we got some chats. So Laura says, okay, let's see it at work. I like how other lists items instead of storytelling. Yeah, It's nice. I want to let's I want to compare it. So let me see how I can do that. Give me 1 second. Let's use ChatGPT, and we need O1, and let's ask the same question. It's thinking. I'm listing top secretaries like Papa Bros, Vicks, and Anthony's, reference sources such as Yelp, TripAdvisor, and local news to back their excellence. Highlighting key steakhouses. I'm integrating references like Houston Press, Thrillist, local notables such as Houston Chronicles and Eater, plus mentioning specific quality factors. So it thought for 26 seconds. I I like this reason. This is more of a concise thought reasoning, right? Like it it's different. So I don't know how to compare these two things because this kind of gives you an outline of how it's going to reply, and it takes you into account like you're reading a book, right? Like you're really reading a story, and this is what's going on in the thought, and you can kind of it's the reasoning, right? The thought reasoning, and so you can actually like you're reading the thought reasoning in the in its head, and then you have what it actually spits out. When I think of reasoning and thought, I think more about this approach. This is good, but it seems like a robot, like it's actually coming from an actual robot, right? Um, which is fine too. But what if I wanted to dig deeper? Like this is telling you what I'm doing. This is what I'm doing. I'm listing top steak eateries in Houston, like. And then I'm integrating, and then after I do that, I'm integrating references, like. And I'm gonna plus mentioning specific steak quality factors such as. But it doesn't tell me how it's going to do that, um, and then why it listed it this way. So it's like this just tells me the what it's going to do. It tells me what its thought process was. The DeepSeek model tells me not only the what, but the how and the why, and from where. That's actually really good. It's a really good reasoning. Um, you could so application of this, right? Why is is one better than the other from a reasoning perspective? From a business application, so a business application of using one model over the next. Um, this tells you what it did, but it doesn't tell you how and why it did it that way. So I can only create applications or tools in which I only care about the what it's doing. And I can only provide checks about the what of that reasoning, whether it created the correct reasoning or not. And well, it's limiting, right? From a technical perspective, I'm limited to only qualifying using this information to provide a reason as to why it provided this result. But if I get this result, if I get this reasoning, I can use I can use AI to gauge whether the reasoning is correct in a business application, because it tells you what it's going to do, how it's going to do it, where it got the information, and why. Um, yeah, that is. I don't know how the other model. That's important. That's very important. Now I understand why it's such a big deal. It's a it's a really big difference. Because if you're building with this and you have the thought, a complete thought, you can add controls. You can audit, you can control, you can specify, you can direct, you can correct. You know, everything's in the details. The more detail you have on your data of why it came in the way it came in, it's very important. It's very important from a user perspective that wants to be in control. Wow, I really like that. Yeah, I think, and it's open source. You don't have to pay $200 a month for it. You can run it locally. You can create an API. I mean, we can grab this model, put it into the cloud, put it into a cloud computer and use it. And you can only pay for what you use it for, but now you can plug in multiple of the same models and chain them together for the reasoning of thought, right? For a very specific use case. Because now you can attach another model that reads only the thought and says, what was the thought? Provide me the what, how, when, and it where it got this thought from, and summarize it, and then compare that, and then put logic around it. Is this thought correct? is this thought correct for the results that we're looking for? And then also, I mean, number one, we care about the result first. So we get the result, which is down here, and we say, this is wrong. And we can pass it through another AI that can say, this is wrong. And then if it's wrong, pass the logic to tell us why it's wrong. And then create a closed loop of fixing itself. And now I'm talking about agents, agentic AI. Because now if it's doing its own tasks and it's on its own creating these tasks, now you have a complete chain of thought as to, hey, here's what I'm going to do. Here's the result of here's what I'm going to do and how and why. Here's the result. Then the next chain of thought of this is this correct? If yes, pass it down to the next process. If not, review the chain of thought and see where we need to fix the chain of thought to reproduce the result again. And then pass it back down to a chain of thought process. Ooh. Oh man, let me draw that out. I think I need to draw that out. Right? So we have let's do a start. So now we have the task or request, right, to DeepSeek or whatever language model, whatever large language model. Then you have the reasoning or thought. Then from there, you have the result. From there, you want to validate the result. And if yes, it ends there. And if no, no, this is yes. End, right? Or you go and, at least for this process, it's done. And then for no, for no, so we're going to put no here. Right, I'm just trying to figure out how to put it on the diagram, right? But why is it wrong? And that process can be done with AI. So why is it wrong? And then go back to that reasoning thought. So it's It's that process right there. So you put in a task or a request to the language model that has deep reasoning or deep thinking. It's going to think through the task. How do I do it? Why do I do it? Where do I do it? Where do I get the information from? It provides you the results, and then you have another query or an AI that reviews the results. Is the result correct? Yes, then you don't have to do much. You pass it down to the next task. No, why is it wrong? Why is it wrong? Through another AI, which now is looking at the reasoning and thought, changing the reasoning and thought, providing the result. Is the result correct? And it keeps doing this until hopefully it gets yes. But I can see how it can also get stuck where it's always no. But at least if it's always no, you can probably have some retry mechanisms that if it's tried more than 3 to 5 times to now send an error code or send an email or notify someone like, hey, this needs to be reviewed by a human. So that is actually really cool stuff. Really cool stuff. I'm gonna stop there. Um, I made up for the time that I was late. So, guys, we have these workshops every Tuesdays and Thursdays from 11:30 to 12:30. I take a look at the chats every now and again to see what you guys are saying. But this is your space. We didn't have a solidified topic this time, so I wanted to talk about something that's um, the latest and greatest in the news. Deeps and why the whole market is down right now. The whole tech industry, the tech market is down, and understanding why, and that's why that the reasoning, the reasoning is a big difference right there. Um, the results, the results are good from both sides, right? O1's results pretty good, but the reasoning as to how it got those results very different. DeepSeek does have a better reasoning methodology or approach or algorithm, and it's a very deep thought reasoning, or at least that's what it's showing us. Maybe the O1 model is doing the same thing or better, like a better algorithm, a better approach to that, but they're not explaining it to us the same way. And I think in the explanation, especially when it comes to this with AI, to be able to explain why it did it the way it did it and how did it get it the way it did it is what everybody's looking for. And I think that's where all of these models need to go. Just like DeepSeek has been able to provide that with their deep think, their reasoning framework. The reasoning framework is just better. And if OpenAI can supply something similar or better or provide just more detail, explain more. There's I don't think that there is any problem, especially in the tech industry, for an over explanation. Or actually make it better. Make it better than DeepSeek. Make it configurable. And I think that's where all of these models are going to go, and that's where we're all going. But now I understand. That's why DeepSeek is making an impact. Because I would want to use DeepSeek for my business logic. It's I mean, to be able to understand exactly why it chose to go that direction. There's so many projects now. There's projects that we're working on right now where if we could only take a look into the reasoning behind why I made that selection and then add a validation layer using AI as to why it took that direction and took that, and we can kind of guide it back into what we're looking for. Oh my gosh, we would have so much more success in our AI projects right now, today. I'm actually going to see if um, some of our clients want to take a dive at this, right? And see if we can spin up a DeepSeek model on a local infrastructure um, and start playing around with it. Because this we're using AI to for these types of reasoning where it requires human level of logic and reasoning, and we're facing issues where not only with the hallucination but being able to validate the chain of thought. So if we can get that chain of thought, capture it, analyze it, and put it into some form of what I just shared on the screen, some form of validation cycle, I can see huge improvements. Man, I'm nerding out. All right, guys. Remember, thank you for joining. This is our EV DevTech help desk workshops. This is made for you, and we're here every Tuesday and Thursday. Um, if you need any help with any technology or with AI or with any type of solution um, that we can't solve within this hour, or is that it's a huge effort and it's essentially a project, get in touch with us. And yeah, we write blogs on these things all the time. So um, yeah, join us. We're trying to build a mini community here. So thank you. Take care.